Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alhamdulillah, we praise Allah for having guiding all of us to Islam. We make dua Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to guide us, until we meet him in Jannatul Firdaus. Today's topic, it is very important on the basis that I do have quite a number of students who approach me and say, Sheikh, my children are 18, 19, and they're not practicing. Please make dua for them. It's not an uncommon thing, especially, sad to say this, that we are living in London for most of us, and that there are a lot of influence in our part of the world, be it in LGBT, be it among people drinking alcohol, smoking weed, and all this, a lot of things, right? But we do need to address this very, very important about how to ensure that you adopt a correct parenting technique, and of course at the same time that you treat your parents in a good way. There are a lot of guidance in terms of guidebooks, parenting techniques, on the online Amazon, and in the bookshops regarding all these techniques of proper how to handle your children. But however, the sad part is that a lot of people are ignoring the most important guidance that we have. Alhamdulillah, it's a privilege that we are chosen by Allah to become Muslims, that Allah sent us the best book. Sisters, everything that we need to know about our life, how to deal with our life, everything is in the Quran. And this is something which we do need to really look at the verses in the Quran in order to find out how should we raise our children. And of course, and as I said, how as children to our parents, how should we treat them? It's absolutely important that we understand, for example, that the verses regarding to be dutiful to parents will always come after the verses regarding your tawheed, in the Quran. So without further ado, we go to the topic itself regarding having the ability to ensure that the children are properly looked after Islamically. And also, people are asking me, so how do you ensure, right? Because we did discuss about this verse in Surah number 13, verse number 11. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. That Allah do not change the conditions of the people unless they change the conditions themselves. That means, how do we ensure in the year 2023 onwards with this social media, how would we keep our family intact? And all this, subhanAllah, we do need to know that Allah will not leave us alone. As Allah informed us when when Adam a.s., before he was forced out of paradise, Allah said in Surah number 2, verse number 38, which I always repeat in my classes, قُلْنَا اهْبِطُوا مِنْهَا جَمِيعًا فَإِمَّا يَأْتِيَنَّكُم مِّنِّي هُدًى فَمَنْ تَبِعَ هُدَايَ فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ. Get out, all of you, from this place, but there will come to you my guidance, and whosoever follow my guidance, upon them they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. That means if we stick on the guidance of Allah, which is in the Quran, then inshallah everything will be taken care of. So the first thing that we do need to look into, right? So from the early stage of, and this happens to me, I'm sure in many of, especially those of us who are born as a Muslim, and a lot of people assume that the children can just know Islam by just looking at the parents and all this. It's not as simple as that. We do need a lot of explanation, especially today with the social media, with the people can just switch on your mobile phones and see what's happening in the world. Even when you Google about Islam, you will find the first few on the list is about Ahmadiyya, is about the Shia, yeah, about the Sufis, and we have to be very careful with all this. So important that we look in the Quran to find out what are the things that we have to inform our children regarding how to bring them up in the best of manners Islamically. Yeah, the first surah that I will look into will be surah number 2 in verse number 132. Yeah. ووصى بها أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ووصى بها إبراهيم بنيه ويعقوب يا بني إن الله اصطفى لكم الدين فلا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. Yeah, this is regarding Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. Now you may be asking me, but these are the prophets. What does that got to do with you and me in the year of 2023 in London? Right? Remember when we say in our prayer, yeah, Ihdina siratal mustaqim, guide us to the straight way. And then we continue, siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim. Allah reminded us who is the person whom we should look up to in terms of guidance, right? Among the humans, right? Because after ihdina siratal mustaqim, we say siratal ladhina an'amta alayhim, the path of those whom you have bestowed your favors. So the question is, who did Allah bestow his favors upon? Yeah. Then we look in surah number 4 in verse number 69. Yeah. 469, Allah reminded us, wa man yuti'illah wa rasul fa ulaika ma'alladhina an'amallahu alayhim. Right? In the first part, which means whosoever obeys Allah and his messenger, they will be in the company of those whom he has or Allah has bestowed his favors upon. Right? So who did Allah bestow his grace upon or his favors? The next part of the surah number 4, verse number 69. Minan nabiyyina wa siddiqina wa shuhada'i wa salihin wa hasuna ulaika rafiqa. Yep, so this is surah 469. So who are these people? First of all, the prophets. Allah bestowed his favors upon the prophets, and then upon the truthful ones, the one who is always following the hadith, following the Qur'an, because they know it's the truth, yeah, without any doubt. So you don't think about it. Oh, in chapter number 2, verse number 2, 3, 4, Allah did say, for if I were to lose the sisters, right? If I were to lose my husband, then I would have to be in a period of mourning for 4 months and 10 days. You would not even argue with this because, but we are in a safe place, we are in London, we can go out anytime, but what is there to worry about? But subhanallah, Allah did say very clearly, right? If you lose your husband, you do need to be in self-iddah. That means isolated from the people in the house for 4 months and 10 days. It's not up to you and me to decide what to do, because at the end of the day, if we say La ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, we bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped by Allah, we have made a commitment, right, that you will want to follow. Remember the 7 conditions of shahada? 7 conditions of shahada would be, the first one, you must have knowledge of la ilaha illallah. The second one, that you must have yaqeen, have certainty what you are saying. After that, number 3 will be the acceptance. That means whatever things is in the Quran and authentic hadith, you have accepted as the truth and that you would follow, inshallah. This is acceptance. Number 4 is submission. After you accept, then you submit. You obey as best as you can, inshallah. Yeah. Number 5 would be the truthfulness. Everything, as we said just now, about the Quran is the truth, right? So whatever things that inside the Quran, we need to submit as best as we can, inshallah. Number 6 of the conditions of shahada would be the sincerity, that you only do it for the sake of Allah. And number 7, the love of it. Yeah. So that means if the Allah's in the Quran about this, we have, as a person who says ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, right? We have to try and submit in all the things that Allah said in the Quran. Yeah. So coming back to the why are we following the prophets? Right? Because in our Al-Fatiha, right, and also in Surah number 4, verse number 69, Allah bestowed His favors upon the prophets first. Yeah, therefore, when Allah said, Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim, the path of guidance are the path of those whom Allah bestowed His grace, the prophets come first. So when Allah said something in the prophets, what He did in all this, we should, as best as possible, emulate them. So Yusuf alayhi salam, for example, right? He went through different tests, from being dumped into the well by his own brothers, from being sold into slavery, yeah, from being put into prison because he refused to be seduced by the wife of his master. And for many years he was in prison and he was let out, subhanallah, right? What lessons must we learn from this? Because he was very patient throughout. He was still submitting to Allah, yeah? And he knew Allah is the best of planner. On the basis of all this, right? When we are in a similar situation being tested in another way, right? For example, what's happening in Palestine now, subhanallah, right? You hardly hear any mourning, where's Allah, right? About being very disappointed with Allah, right? Giving up hope on the deen. Never. You hear even the small children, right? When they're interviewed and they say, Alhamdulillah, right? I've lost this brother, I lost this family, I lost my. They will still say Alhamdulillah. Yeah. So the best examples that Allah would bestow His grace would be upon the prophets. So in the coming back to the topic for today about the surah number 3, so surah number 2 was number 132. Yeah. So the meaning is, right, we recited the Arabic just now. Yeah. And upon Islam, and for the religion of Islam, for submission to Allah, yeah. When Allah has bestowed upon Ibrahim to say to his sons, who are the sons of Ibrahim, would be Ismail and Ishaq, yeah, and also by the speech of Yaqub upon his sons, right? Yaqub's sons are called Al-Asbat. He got 12 sons, including Yusuf alayhi salam. Yeah. And what did he say to the children? Yeah. Oh, my sons. Yeah. Allah has chosen for you the true religion, the true deen, and do not die except in the state of Islam. And it's quite important that we realize this. Hardly, if you ask anybody who was born as a Muslim, you hardly hear people, when you ask them, did your parents tell you about this? Yeah? That you should be, alhamdulillah, grateful to Allah that you're a Muslim. Islam is complete submission to Allah, that you must obey Allah, right? And that you should try and die, and you must die in the state of Islam. Hardly anybody said, but this is what Allah said, right? This is what Ibrahim and Yaqub said to their children, to submit. And we, as a human, as a reciter of the Quran, we should follow this exactly. One of the first things that we explain to children, alhamdulillah, we just said, how many children? But at least 6 children in the house. Today we talked about this, we talked about the deen, right? And they finished the Quran here, and this is exactly what I said, right? To the parents who are here today. And it's very important to remind each other about this. You don't just, okay, you need to just follow us in the prayer. No, we do need to understand about telling the children about how amazing Islam is, that we should be grateful to Allah, that Allah has chosen us out of all the 8 or 9 billion people in the world. Allah has chosen you and me, alhamdulillah, in Islam. It's such an honor, it's an opportunity, inshallah, for us to enter Jannah. If we are not a Muslim, we will never be, we can never enter Jannah. And as Allah said in Surah number 3, verse number 1, sorry, Surah number 2, verse number 161. Right? Innal ladhina kafaru wa matu wa hum kufar ulaika alayhim la'natullah wal malaikati wan nasi ajma'in. The next verse. Khalidina fiha la yukhaffafu anhum al-adhab wa lahum yunzarun. Right? Those who are disbelievers and die while they are disbelievers, upon them will be the curse of Allah, the angels, and all of mankind combined. They will abide therein. Where? In hellfire. And their punishment will not be lightened, and they shall not be reprieved. That means they shall not be saved, they shall not be able to give a second chance. And this is very important, that Allah has selected us to be Muslims, and this is the first thing that we should explain to our children. That is why, sisters, right? Not judging anybody, of course, right? One of the main mistakes of not able to guide your children is because you have chosen the wrong partner. So for sisters, you do need to really have a good wali, especially if you have a father, right? To really question, the one whom you are about to marry, about the deen, right? About how did he submit to Allah, right? Did he attend any lessons, right? How did he improve his deen? Yeah. Has he memorized some parts of the Quran? Does he understand the Al-Fatiha? All these are the required questions. And sadly, as you know, most parents or the wali of the women will ask about, the first thing they ask about, what is your career? What do you do for a living, right? How can you support my child, my daughter? All these are completely against the teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That a person is chosen for four things: the wealth, the lineage, the beauty, and the deen. And those who do not choose the deen is a loser. And this is important, that if we were to find somebody whom we want to marry, the first thing is always the deen. If a person has no deen, it ends up with, subhanallah, right, children that may not be practicing. And this is how, with no deen, a lot of Islamic marriages are falling apart today, breaking apart, sadly, right? If you ask any family lawyers, they say a lot of people are from a Muslim background. Because when you have no deen, you don't know what is patience, you do not know what is compromise, you do not know what is taqwa, right? Because Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he gave his marriage sermon, the word, and he recited these three verses in the Quran: Surah number 3, verse number 102, Surah number 4, verse number 1, and Surah number 33, verse number 70 to 71. In these three verses, the word taqwa was recited 4 times in these three verses. So taqwa is the main ingredient of a successful marriage. It's not about whether the person is living in Chelsea, the person has an amazing career, right? Salary over 100,000 per year, right? All these are the provisions from Allah, whom Allah can give to anyone, right? But the deen itself, right? It need to be worked upon, especially when they were young, right? And it is important. That's what Prophet himself, right? He advised us, or the parents, to ensure that the child will start praying by 7. And when 10, the child is not praying, then we do need to take measures to ensure that the child is praying. So for example, right, talk to him or her, the child, about the importance of the salah. The first thing that we're going to ask by Allah on the Day of Judgment is the salah, right? If miss a salah, the child, after 10, you need to take away, for example, some of the privileges, the mobile phones and all this, take away, right? And all these are the things that you should do, right? Discipline of the children, you have to really be careful, because I know some people who, for example, some of my students, alhamdulillah, they came to me and are now able to recite the Quran. But before that, they say, oh, I went to this school, this madrasa, and I hate the Quran because they the sheikh would beat me up and use a belt and all this. We were very scared of coming to class. And all this is not positive, it's a negative thing. Look what's happening to Iran now, right? How the people are burning the hijab, subhanallah, right? Protesting because somebody was, well, was she murdered? I can't remember. She was, well, maybe she was murdered, one of the person in Iran, because, well, apparently the authority was forcing her to wear the hijab. And all this, people starting to take out the hijab, burn the hijab, completely clueless about the deen. Yeah. So this is this exactly what happened when people are starting to do not understand the deen. They are forced upon them when they were child, and the children, they hated Islam. I have people whom I know from Iran, or this, they hate Islam, right? So important that we inculcate goodness of the deen and explain to the children in a very amazing manner, right? Again, all this has been explained to us in the Quran. So the first verse that we were reciting about the ensuring that the children understood about the deen was in Surah number 2, right? It was number 132, yeah, regarding Ibrahim alayhi salam and the Yaqub alayhi salam, how they were speaking to their children, yeah, about recognizing the importance of Islam and to die as a Muslim. Allah reminded us also in Surah number 3, verse number 102, yeah. Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Which means, oh, you truly believe, have taqwa to Allah as is his due, as fear Allah as he deserves to be fearful, yeah, and do not die except in the state of Islam. And subhanallah, to die in the state of Islam is a huge honor. It's not as easy as what we think. Yeah, we discussed many times in our classes about how towards the end of our life we would face one of the most difficult tests, whereas according to some narrations, shaitan this is shaitan's last effort to make us leave the deen. So they might come out in the form of the image of your parents, and say this before the death comes, and the shaitan would say, oh, in the image of the parents, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew, I'm very happy, and you may be, well, forced, right, to choose between the love of parents and Islam. Yeah. Another thing that we know from some narrations was that we were very thirsty, so thirsty, you have never felt this kind of thirsty before in your life, right? And then shaitan will come with a glass of water, asking you to, if you drink, you must give up Islam, right? So all these things are coming back to us. So to die in a state of Islam is from Allah's guidance, full stop. That's why we always say, Ya Allah, grant us husnul khatimah. Allahumma inni as'aluka husnul khatimah, a good end. A good end surely must mean to die in a state of Islam. Yeah. So this is the first thing, right? That all parents must truly follow this example of Ibrahim alayhi salam and Yaqub alayhi salam to ensure that children understand the gratefulness that we must feel after being chosen by Allah to Islam, and work our way to be steadfast on the deen until our death, to die in the state of Islam. As also Allah said in Surah number 15, verse number 99, Wa'bud rabbaka hatta ya'tiyakal yaqin. That means worship your Lord until there comes to you a certainty. Yeah. So worship Allah until Ramadan finish is very easy. But to continue to worship Allah until death is a bit tricky, because every time there is always some distractions, yeah, that may pull us away from the deen. Yeah. Now, so this is the first one. Second one, right? We know a big character in the Quran in which the whole chapter was about him. Yeah, it's about Luqman. Yeah. So Luqman was a wise person, yeah, who advised his children, yeah, about the deen. Right? The first thing that he did was in Surah number 31, was number 13, right? It's about what? It's not about salah, which a lot of people are doing. It's about shirk, right? Which a lot of people may fall on the shirk just because, well, nobody advised them, told them about tawheed, nobody told them about shirk, right? So if you look in Surah number 31, in verse number 13, yeah. So these few verses 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, all these are regarding the things that a parent must ensure that the children know this. Yeah. So in 31, in verse number, hold on, please. 13, right? وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ يَا بُنَيَّ لَا تُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ إِنَّ الشِّرْكَ لَظُلْمٌ عَظِيمٌ. Yep. And remember when Luqman said to his son, when he was advising him, "O my son, do not join worship with others other than Allah, and verily the joining others in worship with Allah, that means shirk, is really a great wrong." Yeah, dhulm. Yeah, so this is something in which the first thing you should understand, Tawheed must be, inshallah, informed to your children, as the Quran itself, it was revealed, as you know, for the first 13 years in Mecca. Majority of the revelations were only about Tawheed, because when Tawheed enters the heart, inshallah, it will develop, it will grow, so that once you understand about Allah's command completely, inshallah, there's no room to say no. It's always, inshallah, sami'na wa ta'na. We hear and we obey. Yeah. So the first thing was about shirk. Yeah. And very common, especially the kids, the school children, right? They were playing around with, for example, the thought about we born in the month of April, then you're an Aries. In May, it's a Taurus. All these horoscopes. Many people in the youth, they have, sometimes parents give them to wear the tawiz. You go to Turkey, they have all these evil eye, the eye to protect them. All this is form of shirk, which we must completely reject. So the next one, right, in Surah number 31, verse number 14 now, is about being dutiful to the parents. And this is quite important, that we have to realize, right? One of the things that is so important is to be dutiful to the parents. Remember the hadith, was it in regards to, is authentic hadith in regards to the Jibril alayhi salam came when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was giving a sermon, and after he talked to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said Ameen 3 times. Ameen 3 times. One of them was what Jibril said: "May those of you whose parents are still alive right now." This is sorry, is my international connection is correct? Yeah. So this is important that for all of us to truly understand about the fact that to be dutiful to the parents, is one of the most important thing, right? That if we cannot enter Jannah and our parents are still alive, it will cause us to enter hellfire. Again, we're going to talk about another verse of the Quran that Allah explained about how to be, what are the things that we should do to our parents, what we must not do to our parents. But for this case, in this case, Luqman was advising the son about how to be dutiful to the parents. And next verse in Surah number 31, verse number 15, it's about, well, if they ask you to commit shirk, then the parents must be completely disobeyed. But other than that, they must be spoken in a noble manner. In this is in verse number 15. They must be followed, behave to them, or you must be treated in the best of manner. The next verse 16, right? It's about accountability. Now, Luqman was reminding his son about accountability. Now, this is the thing in which you need to remind your children, right? It's not just about have you passed your exam, right? Have you studied for your test, right? Have you cleaned the plates? This is important, of course, but not as important as this. So in the verse number 16, right, Luqman was explaining to the son, yeah, if the weight other sin of a good deed is the weight of the grain of a mustard seed, how small it is, it will still be accountable on the day of judgment. فَمَا يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَا يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. Whoever has a goodness in a state of an atom or a small ant, they shall see it on the day of judgment. And whosoever turns up with a small atom or small ant amount of evil deeds will have the deeds shown on the day of judgment. Nothing will escape Allah's knowledge, because He is Al-Alim, He is Al-Khabir, the All-Aware. He is Al-Basir, the All-Seer. He is As-Sami', the All-Hearer. Yeah. So all these are the things in which we have to bear in mind about accountability. Yeah. When we talk about others, surely Allah knows what we are talking about. Yeah. And the next one, verse number 17. Right. This is when other deeds are coming in, especially the salah. You have to see, right? Should it come first, right? And then to be good to the parents, and then about accountability, then the salah. And we should do it in that order, subhanallah, right? But a lot of people are just, okay, just go through the motion of the salah. Oh, so cute. Yeah, this is my daughter, my son is imitating me, you know, doing the salah. That is not how it is, right? So go according to this order, inshallah, so that you will not get it wrong. Allah will never, never, right, mislead us. This is how it is we're supposed to go. Now, the word aqim salah in verse number 17 is not just to do salah. Remember, that means aqim salah means to do prayer to fulfill all the requirements needed for a perfect prayer. So, for example, the most important thing is about khushu'. This is when Allah reminded us in Surah number 23, verse number 1, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. Successful indeed are the believers. Second verse, الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. That those who do the salah with khushu'. Yeah. Other requirements of prayer, as you know, right, to have to do in congregations if you can. And this is when sometimes I went to people's house, sometimes I see in the mosque, father is praying on the front, son is praying on the left, daughter is praying on the right, completely not doing it together. I mean, I'm talking about those who are late for the salah. You do separately. Even in the house, when I visited some houses, they pray separately. I said, why do you pray separately? Because to pray individually, you only get the reward of one. But if you pray together, subhanAllah, you have the reward 27. And not only that, because when the children see you praying and praying behind you, surely, inshallah, it will be able to improve the salah and to motivate them, inshallah. Another thing that we need to observe when we do salah is not just about salah. What are the things that salah will impact us? Did it allow us to be better in the eyes of Allah? Because Allah did say in Surah number 29, verse number 45, Inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar, that the prayer will prevent immoralities and disobedience to Allah. Did the prayer prevent us doing this? Are we more conscious about whether what we do is going to cause Allah to be angry with us? All this must be put in our mind, because at the end of the day, when we want Allah to love us, we need to have this thing called taqwa, or God consciousness, because Allah did say in Surah number 49, verse number 13, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. The one who's honored by Allah is the one with taqwa. Right? So coming back again to Surah number 31, verse number 17, after salah, okay, so sorry, so Aqim is not just doing the prayer, do with khushu'. You also do it congregations, do it at an early stated time, right? It's one of the best deeds that Prophet Muhammad said. The best deed is to Allah is to do the prayer at early stated time. In Surah number 2, verse number 238, Allah said, "Hafidhu ala salawati was salatil wusta." Guard strictly your prayer, especially the middle prayer. Like it or not, we are in winter, right? In which Dhuhr is about almost 12. Asr is about 1:35. Maghrib is about what 3:55 around there, and Isha is about 5:30, 5:35 around there. Very close together, right? There's no way, right, that is accepted if you say it's okay, I have to work, I will pray my Dhuhr, Asar, Maghrib at the end of the day after Isha. It will not be accepted at all, subhanAllah, because you'll do it deliberately. And secondly, if you look in Surah number 3, verse number 104, in the last part, Allah said, Inna salata kana ala al-mu'minina kitaba mawquta, that the prayer is enjoined upon the believers at fixed hours. Right, let me check whether it is a correct surah. Yeah, surah number 4 in verse number 103. Yep, 4103. Yes. Yes, inna salata kanat alal mu'minina kitaban mawquta. Yeah, the prayer has been enjoined on the believers at fixed hours. It must be fixed. It's not up to you to decide whether, oh, I got no time because of work, I can't do my dhuhr, let me do everything after Isha. If some people are doing in my culture, they call it qada dua. Yeah, all this will not be accepted by Allah. Right? So this is the first thing about salah. Right? To do it in the best of manners. Secondly, after salah is to enjoin good and forbid evil. And this is the thing in which we have to realize, right? In this, we are still doing surah number 31, yeah, in verse number 17. Okay. Yes, so to enjoin good and forbid evil is to give advice, right? In a nice way, of course, right? In the best way possible, so that the person can, inshallah, be a better Muslim or better submitting to Allah. Yeah, and this is in Surah number 3, verse number 104. Allah said, "Wal takum minkum ummatun yad'una ila al-khair wa ya'muruna bil ma'ruf wa yanhauna 'anil munkar wa ulaika humul muflihun." And let there be among you a group of people inviting to all that is good, enjoining what is right, and forbidding what is evil, and this day what is successful ones. Allah also put us at the best nation, Surah number 3, verse 110. Kuntum khara ummatin ukhrijat linnas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You are the best nations that ever raised up for mankind. Why? Because you enjoin good and you forbid evil, and you believe in Allah. Yeah. So this is very important, to enjoin good and forbid evil, right? Because this will only remind, so the brothers remind the sisters in the house. You can also remind your mother and father, perhaps, yeah, that aren't you going to recite the Quran? Have you recited the Quran? Have you done our Sunnah? Right? Are we going to fast on Mondays and Thursdays? Perhaps, inshallah. Now winter is very fast, right? In the Maghrib is about 3:55. That means you're only fasting from about what 6:10 today until 3:55. Only a few hours. It's just like a late lunch. Yeah. So reminding each other is so important, right? Remember, I did give an example of, because if we don't do that, and Allah may punish us, even though we are not doing the sin, we may be part of the punishment. Yeah. This is when Allah said, so the hadith said about, let's say there's a boat, right? In the boat, there are two levels. Yeah. The lower level are for those who are a bit ignorant. The higher level is for those who have a bit more knowledge, right? So the ignorant one, when they want water, they cannot. There's no water anywhere, so they got to ask the people from the top deck, "Can you please pass us some water? We are thirsty." And every time they would do that, and the people at the lower deck felt quite frustrated, because so troublesome, because sometimes the water takes such a long time to come down. And then they think that they're so smart. Then they say, okay, let's drill a hole, because they are in a ship, right? There's a fresh water. If I drill a hole, then we don't need to ask the people on top for water. We can just get the hole from the river. But what happens if they drill the hole? That means the whole ship might sink. So that means the actions of these idiots drilling a hole at the ship will cause the whole ship to collapse, to sink, and perhaps some people will die, even the people at the top floor. So the lesson to be learned from this, lesson to be learned is that if we are the people on the top floor, if we don't advise those who are trying to drill a hole to get the water from the sea, to drill the hole through the ship, then of course there's a hole there. The whole ship will sink. If we don't prevent that from happening, we will sink too. So this is something in which if you don't remind others about Islam, people start to miss their prayers. People start to do all this zina, do all the shirk, right? And perhaps Allah may want to incur punishment on a town. Everybody will get punished. We get the wrath of this punishment, not just the evil people or disobedient to Allah, but everybody will get punished and taste the severity of the punishment. Yeah. Okay, the next one, right? So it's surah number 31, verse number 17. Now, and bear patience with whatever befalls you. That means Luqman was advising the son, whatever befalls you in terms of your studies and whatever it is, you must be patient. So today, 2023, you don't realize sometimes a lot of the children may face a lot of pressure, right? And then the first thing we need to do is to advise them, about to be patient, trust Allah, go and pray first. Surely with a prayer you get comfort, inshallah. So all this, right? As a father, as a mother, you do need to inculcate the sense of that feeling or that likelihood that we may be tested in our lives one way or another. And the only way to overcome is to be patient. And of course, when we say in the Al-Fatiha, Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in, seek help in Allah first. Then you resolve your things. So you don't resolve your things first and then seek help in Allah. It must be the other way. Ask Allah to help us. And remember in Surah number 2, verse number 153, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ مَعَ الصَّابِرِينَ. Seek help in patience first, then in salah. Truly, Allah is with the patient. Yep. So this is Surah number 31, verse number 17. Number 18. And turn not your face away from men with pride, nor walk in insolence through the earth. Verily, Allah does not like the arrogant boaster. Yeah. Wallahu inna Allah la yuhibbu kulla mukhtalin fakhur. Right. Whatever Allah does not like, we have to try our best to stay away from it. So this one, in verse number 18, Luqman was informing his son about not to be arrogant, not to be proud. I mean, subhanAllah, there's nothing to be arrogant. Even though you have all this knowledge, for example, there's nothing to be arrogant because it's Allah who's guiding us to get this knowledge. Great. In fact, the more knowledgeable a person is, the more he or she will be fearful of Allah. The more he or she will be working harder to please Allah. Because then this person would scrutinize the deeds in the past, perhaps Allah may not accept my deeds, and to work harder. And this is the people with knowledge. Yeah. So we do have to be to understand, how it is that we have to try to be humble at all times. Thank Allah more because of Allah we are at this stage of our lives. To be more grateful to Allah. We discussed before, when we end the prayer, we say Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. And this is how Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was teaching. Was it from the Sahabat? I think he maybe Ibn Mas'ud, saying that I love you, right? Because of that, I'm going to teach you something. Before you end your prayer, you say this: Allahumma a'inna ala dhikrika Oh Allah, make me among those who are remembering you, wa shukrika, who is always grateful to you, wa husni ibadatik, that those and make me among those who will do the deeds in the best of manner. Yeah. So there's nothing much to boast because whatever things you get is from Allah. Remember, we know that perhaps our heart, Prophet said, but heart is between Allah's fingers. He can just flip us the other way in order for all of us to be misguided. Subhanallah, right? That is why we always make dua to Allah. Ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. O you who changes the heart, make my heart firm on the deen. And then followed by in dua in Surah number 3, verse number 8, Rabbana la tuzigh qulubana ba'da idh hadaytana wa hab lana min ladunka rahmah innaka antal wahhab. Our Rabb, do not deviate us from the truth once you have guided us, and grant us your mercy. Surely you're the bestower. Yeah, important to continue to ask. It's not coincidence, sisters, that we are asked by Allah or we are ordered by Allah to pray at least, okay, minimum 5, right? 5 times a day at different times of the day. Not everything together in the morning, not everything together in the evening, but different types or different times of the day. That is why the most important prayer, as I said, this is Surah number 2, verse number 238, is the middle prayer, the Asar prayer, according to many scholars. Because Asar prayer is the time that we are so busy with our work, we have no time to perhaps spare even 5 minutes to stop and pray. Especially now, Asar, as I said, is about 1:40 or 1:35, sorry. And you already took your break for the whole prayer. Then you want to take a break for Asar prayer. All this, subhanAllah, without any excuse, we need to say Allah is one who provides. He's one who is our Rabb. He's the provider, the giver, the sustainer, the one who protects, the one who guides. Yeah, and this is all from Allah, the one who creates. Yeah, so this is something which we do need to make dua a lot of times in order for us to be grateful to Allah. Yeah. The last one, 19. Yeah, and be moderate. That means do not be boastful in your walking, and show and lower your voice. Verily, the harshest of all voices is the braying of a donkey. We are asked to lower voice, and this is when I was telling some of my students, right? Because some cultures are quite loud, right? I remember one of my students was talking, he's Albanian, he's talking to his parents. I thought they were having a fight. He said, oh, no, this is how I talk to my parents. I said, but, and also the Nigerians are quite loud. Sorry to say this, I went to Hajj with about, my first Hajj was about what? No, not for second Hajj, right? Was with about 30 Somalians, and they're so loud. In the middle of the night, they always come with food and so loud. And now this is what against what Allah said in the Quran, to be to soften your voice. And the children must be taught this, because it's not from anybody else, but it's from Allah. And Luqman was asked by Allah to say this to the children, right? To lower your voice, because the harshest of the voice is the voice of a donkey, right? So important that we ensure that Islam must be the one who is above your culture. Doesn't mean that the culture is doing this, doesn't mean they're correct, because Islam will dominate all cultures and should dominate all cultures. Yeah, we base our lives, our lifestyle, our way of life according to Islam, not to your own culture. Yeah, so do be careful in this. Yeah, so this Luqman, Surah number 31, verse number 13 to 19, explains in quite great detail what should we teach our children, right? So your children should know this, inshallah. So the first one, as I said, was Surah number 2, verse number 2. So Surah number 2, verse number 132. Now we just finished discussing about Luqman, yeah, in Surah number 31, verse number 13 to 19. The next one, this is the verse or few verses that that I was, well, in those days when you were small, I would use the word forced to memorize when I was 7, 8 years old, because my father, alhamdulillah, may Allah have mercy on him, he was teaching Islam in Singapore, and so was my mother. And they just wanted me to memorize this. And not only that, I had, because we had classes in the house, I had to recite them by memory at 7, 8 to the people. So it is in my mind at all times about this verse. And because it's so important about this verse, again, it emphasizes about Allah will always talk about to worship Allah first, then to be dutiful to the parents. Always goes in that order. Yep. Now let's go through it. Surah number 17, verse number 23. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُل لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُل لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Right? Surah number 17, verse number 23. Right? I repeat again. وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُل لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُل لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. Which means, and your Lord decreed that you should worship only Allah, right? That you should not worship anything other than Him. Right? So, Tawheed, and avoid shirk is the first thing. The next one, and that you be dutiful to your parents. When one of them or both of them turns old, then he should not say any words of disrespect, yeah, or shout at them, but he must address them with words of dignity and honor. Yeah. So this is amazing, right? Because again, I just had classes in my house today. Again, I was talking the children. Well, amazingly, they were listening to me today. They are from, how old are they? I think from 3 to about 12. I think about 6 or 7 of them. The parents have also here. This is what I was giving a talk today too about this. That they have to lower their voice. They have to. This is what Allah's order. Allah uses the word oof. Oof means any words of annoyance about your parents. Right? That you just do not want your parents to take control of your life. This is what people say, the youngsters now, isn't it true? Right? And that you just must, as a parent especially, you do need to discipline your children regarding this. Don't let them run over you, right? Because if you do it, inshallah, when they were young, according to Allah, and make dua to Allah, right, to control their emotions. And this is very important, that Allah can do anything. So don't say that it's okay, I want my children to be loud. And it's not what Allah said in the Qur'an. Right? And Allah can do anything. Remember, there was a time when was it Salama, the Prophet ﷺ's wife, right? Before, because the husband was an amazing person, and he passed away. He was martyred in a battle, one of the battles, and she was proposed by many, including Abu Bakr and all this, and she rejected everybody. And then eventually Prophet ﷺ proposed to her himself that he wanted to marry her. One of the things that she said, but I have these few qualities, right? One of them was, I'm very jealous, right? And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ assured her, as for jealousies, I make dua that Allah will remove this from your heart. And again, this is from the Prophet himself who advised, but through this advice, it literally implies that it occurs, as in it applies to us, right? That when we want our children, for example, to have good akhlaq, make dua to Allah. Of course, you must have the good example too. You cannot tell the children to be quiet, be soft, and you yourself are at the top of your head arguing with your husbands, with your family, and all this. If you want them to behave properly, then you need to be the best example to your children. That always are the case, because your children will always follow you in terms of behavior, mannerism, and all this. Yeah. So we do need to be to understand, right, about this important verse, and make sure you train your children, make dua to Allah to give them good akhlaq, in order for them to well, according to what Allah said here, to be soft spoken and not lift their voice above yours as a parent. Yeah. Now the next verse, Surah number 17 in verse number 24. وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. And lower unto them the wing of submission and humility through mercy. So be merciful to your parents. Subhanallah. Right? Because again, we are taught in the dua in the next part of the same verse, right? My Lord, bestow on them your mercy as they did bring us up when I was young. Yeah. And so this is the things in which you need to treat them with mercy, right? To treat with the utmost humility, because they have been raising you up when you were a child, when you were young. And this is something that we do need to remember. Allah emphasized a lot on being dutiful to the parents, right? And something in which you do need to make sure your children knows these two verses regarding the parents, how to take care of the parents, inshallah. Right? Now, the last verse. Even at the point of death, we have been taught what to say to our children. Who did that? Okay, this is Surah number 2, verse number 133. Right? If you look in Surah number 2, right, in verse number 133, this is regarding Yaqub alayhi salam. Yeah, about when he said before upon his death, yeah, he was saying it to his 12 children. أم كنتم شهداء إذ حضر يعقوب الموت إذ قال لبنيه ما تعبدون من بعدي قالوا نعبد إلهك وإله آبائك إبراهيم وإسماعيل وإسحاق إلا واحدا ونحن له مسلمون, which means, were you a witness? Yeah. When death approached Yaqub alayhi salam, and he said to his sons, what will you worship after me? Subhanallah. If you were to think about this verse, how many people at the point of death do you think remind their children about this? Many people would, for example, take care of the house, right? Don't quarrel among each other, right? The eldest son or the eldest daughter, you being the eldest, take care of the children, take care of the younger ones, and all this. But not many people would be following what Allah informed us when Yaqub alayhi salam, before he died, right? What will you worship after I die, after this? And the children said, we will worship your ilah, it means your God, and the ilah of your fathers, right? Ibrahim, Ismail, Ishaq, one ilah, one God, right? And the last part, and to him we submit. And this is amazing, right? That even we know this prophet is going to Jannah. All prophets, inshallah, will be in Jannah. Yeah. But the fact that he was reminding his children, right, about who they must worship after he died, clearly shows that no matter who you are, your children, everybody is accountable for their deeds. There are many people whom I saw, the father, the parents may be an ustad, ustada, but the females of the children or the grandchildren are not wearing hijab, right? Dressing not in a good way, right? And look at, for example, Boris Johnson. If you were to see Boris Johnson's in one of the documentaries, how his grandfather, I believe, was a Hafiz of the Qur'an in Turkey, and look what happened to the grandchild, our grandson, Boris Johnson, completely nut and completely not a Muslim, as far as we know. Right? May Allah guide all of us to the right path. But this is the thing that we need to understand, that we have to, on the day of judgment, sisters, and you as mothers, or perhaps you as a children to your parents, right? You can say to Allah, Ya Allah, whatever things that Allah has informed me in the Quran, in terms of Surah number 3, verse number 132, in terms of Surah Luqman, verses 13 to 19, in Surah Al-Isra, Surah 17, verse number 23, 24, and the last part in Surah number 2, in verse number 133, right? I've tried to done my best on my children. I tried to do my best to help my parents when they are older, right? I make dua for my children and for my parents. I've done my best, and Allah knew. Allah as Al-Alim, the All-Knower, Al-Khabir, the All-Aware, the Al-Basir, the All-Seer, As-Sami', the All-Hearer. Allah would know exactly what you have done in this life, right? Nobody can dispute. Your children can never say, Ya Allah, my parents didn't teach me. Because remember, on the day of judgment, even Nuh alayhi salam would be sabotaged by the followers who was not practicing, right? Allah would ask Nuh, did you pass a message to your children? Nuh would say, yes, I did pass a message. And then Allah, of course, Allah knew the answer, or Allah was testing the nation. Did your prophet pass the message to you about Allah, about the deen? And the nation said, no, he did not pass a message. And then Allah asked Noah, who will be your witness? Who's the witness? You and me. Right? This is Surah number 2, verse number 143. That we will be witness over all of mankind. Yeah. So the Quran, sisters, are the ones for you and me, right, to follow. Right. This is a guidance. Right. That's what Allah said. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. The reason why we are coming to classes like this, inshallah, is for us to remind each other, where do we seek knowledge? How do we practice what we have learned? Remember, whatever is here, if it's not put to practice, is such a waste. One of the wasteful things are knowledge that does not come to practice, right? It's still not too late, inshallah. All of us still breathing, right? So I hope today's talk will remind all of us, you, me, right, on our duties to our children, our duties to our parents, right? So that we won't be questioned by Allah on the day of judgment. We won't be, well, sabotaged by our own children, perhaps our own parents, when we know that we have done our best to do things according to what we have been taught in the Quran and in authentic hadith. And I hope today's talk, inshallah, will be able to put in a different perspective what we have been doing. If we need to change, we change, inshallah, right? We cannot wait, because at the end of the day, time may come, there will become a time, sisters, that the angel of death will come and stop at our side. The angel of death is always passing by around us, on our back, on our left, on our right, going to another person. One day, the angel of death is going to stop right in front of us. How are we going to answer to Allah that we have not been following the Quran? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide all of us, yeah, in the best of manners, that we are able to follow what Allah has revealed to us in the Quran and authentic hadith. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help our brothers and sisters who are suffering in Palestine, grant them patience, grant them dignity, grant them the ability to be steadfast on the deen despite difficult circumstances. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of them who died in Palestine place in Jannah al-Firdaus as in the form of a martyrdom, a shaheed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us for our sins and shortcomings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow all of us to meet the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant all of us Jannatul Firdaus. Subhanaka wa bihamdika asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan. Inshallah we'll see you each other. We'll see each other inshallah in our class next week. Yeah. Remember, Darussalam is on the 17th. That means this place here behind you. Lisa, I'm sure you're familiar with the things that you see behind. We have not been having a gathering yet for a long time, right? So I look forward to see you, inshallah, on the 17th, on a Sunday at about 2 o'clock. We're going to pray Asar first, right? Inshallah, we'll see you soon, yeah? Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.